All right, what's up, guys? I wanted to show you one of the latest trades I took last night in the exclusive Discord, and like an update on kind of the current state of the market. After the FOMC meeting, Powell kind of conveyed a little bit of more hawkish message, but there's also anticipation that we're getting close to pivoting. Keep in mind, guys, pivoting. Typically, markets do bottom out after the pivot happens. Big debate here is, does Bitcoin decouple? Continue to decouple from the S&P 500, the Nasdaq. So far after the meeting, it doesn't look so good for that, but there's still a strong possibility there. Based on obvious fundamentals here, hedge against inflation. So, latest trades right here. I'm giving you guys, this didn't hit the first take profit yet. I think it will. But I had a nice Bitcoin swing short entry in there. If you guys are interested in the Discord, link description below. It's through Patreon, but I changed the settings so you don't have to, you won't get double charged again on the first of the month how it used to be. They updated that now. So if you guys are interested, link in description below. And if you sign up to any of the exchanges down below, using my link and deposit at least $100, I will give you one free month in the exclusive Discord. Just shoot me a DM on Discord. You got to join the free Discord first, and shoot me a DM with your UID, and I'll get you sorted. Or you could just tag me in one of the channels. So yeah, check that out. So let's just look at like kind of our overview here. So the main thing that we want to start with is kind of the weekly, the main pattern here. And let me just show you it on the Bitstamp chart because there's more data here. We're at this area. Look at blue triangle, green dot, blue triangle, green dot, blue triangle, green dot. We're essentially at this part. And also, it's just crazy. It's almost like we're in some simulation, some virtual reality, like the way it just repeats this, kind of pattern. And, look at kind of we're at that area. Over here, you went up even higher theoretically, although if you really zoom in here, I'm sure you can you're kind of at this area where you had a big kind of drop down, but then you continued forward. And this was in 2015. That's the accumulation year. And then, right here, you did come up farther. That would be the case to kind of bring us up to 40K. I wouldn't say it's very optimistic. Wouldn't say it's very likely to go too much above 40K this year unless things get like really crazy. So that would be kind of the case for 40K, dependent on this time frame. Keep in mind, though, we are kind of heading into a recession. Those previous two times, that didn't really happen. 2015, here and here, we did not enter recessions. This time could be different in that sense. So that's what we got to keep in mind. But ultimately, the fact that we were able to kind of hold, 25.4, hold the 200, close a weekly candle above it, unless we really get a major curveball here with the recession or something, 15K was most likely your bottom. And the thing I'm really looking at in terms of accumulating for long term is kind of simple here. It's about a nice 10-month DCA period, 10-month, 8-month, pick your poison DCA period when you crossed and confirmed into the red right here. If you're somebody who's more cautious, maybe you could wait, until the next red dot over here. You kind of did miss out on a lot because it took a while for a red dot here. Assuming we keep rallying up, wait till that confirms, then start DCA in again. But assuming that rallies up like that, you're missing out on a little bit. Also, right here, it would have been better to kind of wait for the next red dot because he came down, but that was a black swan event. I'm kind of more in the camp of repeating, something not this bad, but I think you will get a decent drop off into the summer until later this year. So, it never really works in terms of FOMOing in. You know what I mean? That usually never works in terms of just FOMOing in. So I think the DCA strategy would be for the next 10 months, and that would, not financial advice, but what I think is it's going to put me in a very good position. That's what I'm doing here. So that's what I'm looking at. Also, the thing too that's like a little bit, actually it's like the monthly here, a little bit like worrisome is just how low the monthly money flow is. If it's like the Nasdaq after .com bubble, you would curve over and get a red dot and come down farther here into the red. That would be the case to make a lower low. I kind of don't think that's going to happen because we've pulled above the 200 weekly now. Before we pulled above that, I thought it was more likely we would make a lower low, but now things have changed based on that. It looks most likely that, this is the low kind of right here. Most likely that's kind of how it looks at the moment. So if we move on to some of the lower time frames, let's go on the Coinbase chart with my spiral lines and stuff. if we look at, some of these hitting off of the big pocket right here, this is the technical target. If you break out of this is a reverse head and shoulders right here. I'm sure a lot of people have been, or it just should be like that actually. I'm sure a lot of people have been talking about that. And you have a technical target for that up at, what am I doing? Up at 40K, this spiral line pocket, which is going to be a huge, huge area. That's kind of the highest I could see you going from this rally. When would you hit that? Maybe sometime in May if April turns out to be a really bullish month here, if we turn it that way. But for now, based on kind of the daily, for the short term here, it does look, based on this time frame, you got the red dot too, it does look like we're going to at least test the 200 weekly moving average again. This is a big area, spiral line pocket right here, logarithmic spiral lines. Kind of seems like you'd at least come down to this. If we lose the 200, if we're not able to get a nice bounce off the 200, if we lose that, we're closing another weekly candle below that. One, that's kind of weird, and that doesn't happen too often. This market's different than we've been historically. And two, I would consider that more bearish, and that's, that's kind of the case for the Bitcoin to kind of couple back up with the S&P 500, with the NASDAQ. Also, based on what Powell was saying, based on what the Fed's been saying, is, they're kind of implying, we're going to bail out, depositors. We're going to help out depositors in banks that go down. So there's that safe haven, and we're going to keep raising rates, which that's kind of bad for Bitcoin ultimately. And you also saw here, Bitcoin or DXY went down, when Powell was speaking, and Bitcoin also went down. So that's not a good sign at face value. Doesn't mean everything, but that's not a good sign at face value. So that's what we got to, be cautious on here. So also, you're rejecting from that point. Money flow is overheated on the 5 hour, the 4 hour. These are pretty bearish. These are good places to look for, potential shorts, potential trend reversals. Let's just see, how these two played out here. This came down here, and then from here to here, this came down a good amount. I mean, history doesn't really repeat exactly. Let's say it's more like this. Kind of from where we are. I mean, a little bit subjective, but it'd bring you back down to 24, 25K, maybe a target 23, 24 right there. That's a significant area right there. And, if we look at money flow coming down the 2 hour, you're about to get that crossover. That's that trajectory, that same trajectory, or it's kind of the same thing right there. So I do think there's a good shot, at least testing kind of the 200 weekly moving average. I think that's almost a gimme here, almost a gimme of retesting the 200, retesting kind of this area right here. And in terms of like real short term, money flow coming out in the 15-minute right there, generally it looks like you could get down to these points, in the next 3-5 days, something like that. That's kind of what I'm projecting right now. It could take a little bit longer. We'll see what happens. And if you look at I'm just curious about Bitcoin dominance. So this is interesting. Bitcoin dominance has started kind of come down a little bit off of this point. Maybe more money going to stable coins a little bit more trust to stable coins, stuff like that. But I do think on the macro here, this is going to continue pretty bullish. And I think when we do finally see maybe even a pullback to 25K, that area, you'll see this continue to kind of go up, and alts are just really going to get crushed because this is so bullish. And we can look at like some alts here. Let's just look at ETH, because ETH, I believe, is still kind of, let's look at ETH. Bitcoin's still really bleeding against Bitcoin here. I mean, double blood diamonds on the 3-day you just saw down there. I think best case scenario, money flow coming out in the weekly, I think best case scenario is going to be like right down here. So this could bleed against Bitcoin, I'd say at least another 15% or more. Could be, I know it's a crazy number, but could be like 40-something% worst case scenario here. But if we look at ETH, it's kind of the same as Bitcoin. We're still in that way, rejected it kind of off of that trend line, playing around with the fib level right there right now, I would say. And I think so. And then money flow coming out, red dot right there. So that's what we're looking at. And then I just wanted to take a quick look at some of the higher. So it's the same, kind of in terms of the weekly, that's interesting. So when we were at this point on the weekly here, about to cross into the red, you curved down, you had another drop downward. So maybe another retest of 1100 before continuing forward. If it's kind of like that accumulation phase there, I guess you could say, that accumulation phase there back in 2019. Also, if we look at, VWAP coming down on the 2-day, daily we looked at pretty bearish, almost as bearish as it gets. You confirmed a bearish div here on the, bearish div here on the 12 hour. So it's looking more like we're going to generally kind of lose this area. I mean, you may get in the short term some resistance, some relief off of this, but money flow coming out in the 5 hour, it generally looks like you're going to kind of lose this area. Money flow coming out, blood diamond in the 3 hours. So generally more bearish there. I think this point's going to starting to act as resistance rather than support in my opinion right here. And if we move on, I just want to show you lastly, I mean, I don't know. Let's look at like one of the altcoins here, such as like Matic. It's a popular one. I mean, you didn't even get close to your February high here, which is a really bad sign. A lot of these altcoins haven't even got close to their February high. That's a bad sign for altcoins. I think they're going to continue to bleed against Bitcoin for at least the next few months. So this is more of just a really good Bitcoin accumulation time. And then we'll talk about ETH and alts as the months go on. There's going to be, the real good accumulation phase, maybe convert some Bitcoin into those, or just start buying alts later kind of in the year. So that's what we're looking at. This is a low trajectory for Matic. I don't know if it's going to get that low, but given that a lot of these alts did not even, pierce their February highs, we could see a lot of reckoning in some of these altcoins. So that's my main concern about alts right now. That's all I got right now, guys. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in the exclusive Discord, some trade entries, and exclusive TA. Link in the description below. Not financial advice. I'm not right 100% of the time, but we do well in there most of the time, I would say. And yeah, that's it right now. Hope you guys have a great day. Goodbye.